recognizes Mr. Jordan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Whitlock, do we have a functioning First Amendment when 62% of Americans feel like they can't express themselves freely?
Absolutely not. And I appreciate you not asking me to make a negative comment about President Trump, who's not a part of the media. You guys called a meeting to discuss the media, and somehow you should have just asked us to pre-record negative comments about President Trump, and then we could actually talk about the topics you've asked our time to speak about, the media. I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan, go ahead.
No. I well said. Do you have a free speech rights when only one side is allowed to talk, which is exactly what the cancel culture mob is doing today?
Absolutely not. I'm going to go on another rant. I would wish we could talk about big tech's takeover of free speech.
Yep.
Silicon Valley is in control of America. It's in control of the American media. There's only one strain of thought allowed. If you do not agree with Silicon Valley and Northern California's radical point of view, they will cancel you and silence you on their social media apps, and in any other way possible, try to smear your character. I've been through the whole cancel culture thing driven by Silicon Valley and the political activists on the left. This whole thing, I got to be honest with you, Mr. Jordan, I'm glad you invited me, but it's frustrating. My parents have always been mad at me because to be quite honest, I refuse to vote. I don't like politicians. And this experience I'm witnessing here today, people grandstanding and trying to make comments about Trump and whatever.
President Trump's comments yesterday, his inability to acknowledge that there will be a peaceful transition of power, undercut these shared truths.
When we're here to talk about the media, it pisses me off. It's a clown show. What's my tax dollars going for? Are we here to conduct business and get at real issues? Or are we here to just put out a commercial about an anti-Trump commercial? I don't want any parts in it. I don't participate in any of this presidential politics. Yep. I didn't have anything negative to say about Barack Obama. I don't got anything negative to say about President Trump. Let's talk about the media and too many of you guys on the payroll of big tech.
Let me ask you this, and you referenced it in those comments. Ms. Weiss, and I referenced it in my opening statement, Barry Weiss of the New York Times talked about the digital Thunderdome. If you attempt, so most of Americans are afraid to do it, but if you step out and speak out against the mob, do you think that's the appropriate term, this term that she used, digital Thunderdome? And if so, have you ever been in the Thunderdome? I think you alluded to that.
I'm in it virtually every day, and Barry Weiss was 1,000% correct. She called Twitter the editor for the New York Times, and Twitter is the editor for the American media. Yep. And Twitter is a rigged algorithm that imposes a worldview that is anti-American, anti-religion, anti the values that we were funded in, anti the values that got us, that made this country the ideal human experiment, that all these people ranting and raving and complaining about America, you couldn't get them to leave America with a stick of dynamite and $1 million in cash. They would not leave. They all allege they hate America. And America, well, it's the greatest human experiment we've ever had.
Yep.
Is it perfect?
Well said.
Absolutely not. But this, thanks for inviting me.
Let me ask you this, and I want to ask Ms. Villa this as well. Will the cancel culture mobs just stop with conservatives and Republicans, or will they come after Democrats at some point too? Ms. Villa, and then we'll go back to Mr. Whitlock if we have time.
Absolutely, and I'd like to say Rhonda Kennedy Ball is my counsel here. She's a black woman, mother of 6, and cancel culture is an infection. They're going after everybody. They're going after Democrats. They're going after long-standing celebrities, black, Latino, it doesn't matter. Cancel culture is a virus that is attacking every single facet. And I've heard a lot of bashing of the president here. I want to, join along with Mr. Whitlock. Why can't we stay on the topic? Why can't we talk about diversity in media rather than insulting the president? If you can't have one subject where you talk about diversity in media, when you have a black woman and Latina woman right here in front of you and all this diversity behind us, and you still have to talk about the president. It's sad, it's pathetic, it's embarrassing, quite honestly, and I am proud to be here and say that this president has perpetrated more diversity than any other president. He's been the most pro-black president. The First Step Act, you want to talk about disproportionate black and brown people, and you want to talk about in criminal justice reform, not one Democrat has done anything for criminal justice reform. You want to talk about Joe Biden's character, but I'm not going to bring that up. I'm going to go back to what we're talking about here, and representation in media matters, but we must have diversity of thought. Big tech needs to be held accountable. The big studios need to be held accountable, and every single celebrity that wants to talk about only what they're doing is ignoring the fact that Black Lives Matter in the name of diversity is saying Black lives only matter, and they're killing police officers every day. That is not diversity, that's violence.
Ms. Villa, Mr. Whitlock, there were 4 members of Congress shadow banned by Twitter 2 summers ago. Any guess as to whether they were 4 Republicans? They're about the same party. Do you think they were Republicans or Democrats?
Republicans.
Yeah. Gates, Meadows, Nunes, Jordan. We know, as Mr. Whitlock said, big tech is out to get conservatives. That's why we need to be looking at Section 230, how we fix that, make sure that the platform is in fact neutral and not censoring people. When Twitter can let the Ayatollah of Iran put out a statement, say they will strike a blow against American citizens, and that's fine, but then they will censor the president's tweets, I think it proves Mr. Whitlock's point. I yield back. And I apologize to our witness. I have to run to another vote, and we're back and forth, but I'll be back later.
I am your